When I stopped watching porn and stopped masturbating, it was like all of a sudden my soul could feel the fullness of every moment in my life. It was like by retaining my sexual energy, every single moment in my life became a sexual experience, became a sexual interaction. And I don't mean that in like an outwardly sexual way, but just that I was able to really feel the subtleties of every moment, the sensuality within every single moment of life, even going for a run, pouring a glass of water, making some food for myself, working on a business, working at my job, like all of those things became a amazing sexual experience. And like I said, sexual, I don't mean outwardly sexual, but just like more sensual, just more. Porn is designed to weaken the human population so that we're more easily controlled. I know this sounds crazy, but just hear me out. So porn keeps us in a state of reactivity. It shows us something, we have a quick reaction, and then we masturbate. And when we masturbate, we lose a lot of energy, we lose a lot of our power, and we're left feeling weak and depleted afterwards. Now this pattern of being reactive carries out into other parts of our lives where we lose a lot of our ability to think critically and respond to situations, and instead we have these quick reactions. And from experience, I'm sure we all know that when you react so strongly without having that ability to pause and think about what you're doing, that keeps you in a state of weakness because you're a slave to these feelings and not in control over them. When you feel a lot of butterflies and a lot of sparks and like this kind of like intense feeling, I think that is not actually love. I think that real, true love comes with a sense of peace. It really doesn't even feel like much, but it feels like very comfortable, and it's actually not like this huge magical thing. Exactly, it's infatuation more than love, and I think that people mistake infatuation for love, and that can cause a lot of pain in the long run. Life will always present you with the truth and the lie will appear to be the truth upon first glance because it's just very seductive, it's very attractive, it appeals to our senses, but it ends up causing long-term suffering. So let me give you some examples. Let's say your body is craving something sweet. Now, the truth would be a piece of fruit because maybe there's some vitamins and minerals within that fruit that your body needs. But if you aren't sensitive enough to discern, then you might fall for the lie, which would be a brightly wrapped candy bar, because it looks fun, it appeals to your senses, and it's sweet, so you're getting the illusion that you are satisfying that sweet craving within you, when in reality your body is still starving for the nutrition that it needed from the fruit. Now let's take this out to other parts of our lives, like porn. Porn gives you the illusion of satisfying a true need within you for real-life connection. When you begin the journey of eliminating porn from your life and going on a fasting period from masturbation, you might notice that you feel all of these urges come up. You're going to be hyper-aroused in your day-to-day experience because you are becoming more sensitive. And one of the biggest issues that people come to me with is they don't know how to handle their urges. They don't know what to do with all of this newfound sexual energy and arousal. And my biggest piece of advice is to just enjoy it. Just get used to feeling horny, get used to being turned on throughout your day, because this is how life is supposed to feel. You're supposed to feel this life force energy flowing through you. You're supposed to be awakened to the beauty around you. Arousal is awakening yourself to beauty. It is what makes life fun and worth living. It makes you more passionate. It makes you feel more alive. We're just so used to getting rid of this energy through a lot of masturbation and porn use, and we're getting used to being zombies that this new energy feels strange at first. I've completely lost count of how many men have told me that they feel more masculine when they retain their semen. Let's talk about why this is. A lot of men, they ejaculate on a regular basis, and your semen is your power. When you're constantly ejaculating, you are giving your power away. You're a slave to your own urges. You're not in control of yourself, and this is what leads to what people call toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is when men are not in control over themselves, and instead they try to control others. They use their power to fuel their egoic needs. Now let's talk about positive masculinity, because you don't hear about this too much. Positive masculinity is when a man is in control of himself, in control of his feelings, in control of his sexual desires, and he uses his power to uplift and support others for the greater good. Semen retention makes this possible. Relationships that are built on lust do not last. Lust is an issue for men and for women. I used to have huge issues with it. And learning how to discern between love and lust is one of the biggest challenges that we face. But by removing ejaculation from your life completely, as much as possible, and even orgasm, take orgasm off the table, at least for a bit of time, and watch how that changes your approach to finding romantic connections. Normally, ejaculation and orgasm are the underlying motivating factors dictating our attraction to certain people. But if you knew you couldn't do those things, how would that change what you look for in a partner? If you knew you couldn't ejaculate, how would that change your approach to romantic connections? I want to hear your opinions on this, so let me know in the comment how removing ejaculation and orgasm would affect your approach to finding love. A lot of us have seen porn before having real life sex, and I wonder how this shapes our whole approach to sex. So I noticed in my past how so many of my experiences would just be mimicking things that we had seen in porn, and I would wonder why I was left feeling so sad and empty and depressed inside after that type of sex. And now I know it's because that those desires to do those acts weren't coming from a true place within me. It was coming from things that I had seen in porn, desires that were implanted into me from porn. And when I talk to other people about their sex lives, they describe how porn taught them how to have sex, and they do acts that they had seen in porn, things like ejaculating on a woman's face, things like choking, things like using the words bitch, slut, and whore. And there's nothing wrong with that if you really enjoy that. But I wonder, would you still want that had it not been for porn? And what would uninfluenced sexuality really look like? When you're not ejaculating, then you're going to seek out a woman who supports your best interests, who wants to help you fuel your purpose, who wants to help you be a better man. You know what I mean? The type of woman who you go after out of lust, that type of relationship is going to drain your energy. It's going to take you away from your purpose, and then you're going to be left feeling weak after it. And so all of this comes about because you aren't having the right relationship to women that you should be. Instead of seeing them as a partner and an asset that's going to be on your team, you're seeing them as something to help you achieve ejaculation. And that ruins the relationship. It ruins everything, really. Your sex drive is directly related to your overall drive in life. They're basically one and the same. Now, sex drive is creative drive. Sexual energy is creative energy. So when you are masturbating on a regular basis, when you're ejaculating regularly, then you have a lower sex drive overall because you're satisfying that urge for yourself. And then because of that, you experience low motivation in other parts of your life. When you don't masturbate, when you don't ejaculate, at least for a short period of time, you'll notice that you feel more motivated to find pleasure in other parts of your life. And sometimes, most of the time, we're going to find that we get the most pleasure through creation, through bringing things into this reality, bringing ideas to life, bringing businesses to life. Bringing things into reality is where we're going to be seeking to find our pleasure if we have that drive within us. Without that drive, we miss. Now, when you're low energy, you are more easily controlled. You're kind of at the whim of whatever has more energy than you. So that's another reason why porn keeps us weak. And yeah, the fact that porn is so easily accessible and it's free and it's like all over the place, and now with these smartphones and Wi-Fi and, you know, data packages, you can access porn any time of the day. Like within seconds, anything you want to see is right there at the click of a button. And there's a reason behind this. There's a reason it's so accessible. There's a reason why it's all over the place. It's because there's an agenda there. Whenever something is very easy to obtain, you have to question why. Why is it easy to watch porn? It's because if you're watching porn, then you probably know that you need more extreme things, more extreme images and genres over time to get off. And this is because porn has this ability to steer our sexuality in directions that are so far removed from where our original sexuality once started. It's like, it works the same way as a drug, where you need more and more and more stuff to achieve the same high. And over time, this disconnects you from your true sexuality. So when I stopped watching porn, it was like all of a sudden I was back in touch with my true sexuality, and all of the things, all of the fetishes and desires that had been implanted into me through watching porn, through all those related videos that you see pop up on the side, where you can just like, curiosity can really get you into weird places sometimes, but all of those things kind of faded away and fell off when I stopped watching porn. I know it's hard to stop watching porn. I was there, I get it, and trust me, I know when something brings you relief and it brings you pleasure and comfort, it can be really hard to let go of it. But I promise you that when you do, life is gonna get so much better. Your relationships are gonna get stronger. Your social anxiety is gonna fade away. You're gonna have more confidence, more ambition. You're gonna have more creative drive in your life. And you're just gonna be more alive. You're gonna feel more sensitive to the beauty of every single moment in life. And this is how life is supposed to feel. You're supposed to walk around feeling turned on and aroused and awake in your life, and not just like a zombie. Now, if this is something that you really struggle with, then I have created a full-on video course showing you the exact steps to eliminate porn from your life. And if this is something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my bio to learn more. Your sexual energy is like a magnet. The pull of this magnet becomes stronger the more you retain that energy. Your ability to navigate life, to put yourself in the right situations, meet the right people, have the right opportunities present themselves, be in the right place at the right time. It's supposed to feel effortless, but the problem is that we numb ourselves so much with masturbation, with porn. All of these things numb our ability to hear our intuition and to hear our instincts. And when we can't hear that voice, we end up doing things that block our manifestations from coming into our life. We're blocking our blessings when we do anything for instant gratification. When you're acting in alignment with your instincts, life feels effortless and your manifestations come to you. The things you want come to you. It's a dark thing. Porn holds very dark energy. And whatever you orgasm to, you bond with. And so for a long time, I was bonding with dark energy, because that's what porn is. It's dark energy. And when you're bonded to dark energy, you manifest that into your life in the form of depression and anxiety and sadness. I used to masturbate on a daily basis. So for me to remove that daily dopamine release, I feel like I'm going through withdrawal from a drug or something. It gets you really high, but then it leaves you feeling really low afterwards. It's just facing your life, just coming to terms with the reality that maybe you're not satisfied with your life. Whereas before, porn and masturbation, you were using as an escape. At least I was using it as an escape, as a way to not focus on my problems. And it's the same thing with any other form of instant gratification. Turning lust into appreciation. There's this idea that we need to do something when we see beauty, instead of just allowing ourselves to admire that beauty, acknowledge it, and then let it go. I think it stems from a feeling of lack, like we don't have our own sense of beauty and power and greatness. We need to recognize our own beauty and our own power so that when a beautiful person comes into our life, we can react to that beauty from a state of security rather than a state of desperation. If you're in a desperate state and you see someone beautiful, you are going to try to like masturbate to it, possess it in some way. You're going to try to like you need to do something about it to claim it as your own. When you see beautiful people, just let them be beautiful. You don't need to do anything about it. Express gratitude that you got to witness that beauty. When you masturbate to porn, you know that feeling like right after you come and you just get immediately disgusted by what you see on the screen, and it's like you just want to turn off porn, you just want to like put it away. It went from being something that was so exciting to something that's just like, ugh. What that does over time is we're conditioning ourselves to experience disgust right after orgasm. And what does that do in relationships? To have that pattern of disgust following our highest pleasure, the type of pleasure that's supposed to promote bonding and intimacy, we end up subconsciously associating our partner with the disgust, with the pleasure and then the disgust. You see it play out, you have sex with someone, and then right after you finish, you're like, okay, I just want to leave, or I just want them to leave. It's because there's that subconscious thing that feels disgusted by what you just did. It's like if you could truly recognize your own beauty and your own power, then when you see someone beautiful walk by, you wouldn't be reacting to them as if like they're on a pedestal and now you need to try to get them. You would see yourself as on the same level, and your reaction coming from that place would be one of like a calmness, of like a calm, like, oh, look at how beautiful she is. There'd be a peacefulness behind it, not this like, oh. Bring yourself to the present moment. A lot of lust gets built up when we start taking our thoughts outside of the present moment. So say a beautiful woman walks by. Be present with that. You don't need to start escaping into your mind of like, oh, I wonder what they look like naked. I wonder like how sex would be with them. Don't escape off into these like fantasies that have nothing to do with what's right in front of you, you know? Like just bring yourself back to the present moment. People find themselves struggling with relapse with porn because they aren't aware of how valuable their energy actually is. Your energy is worth more than porn. If we were to place a high value on our sexual energy, it would be much easier to not be so okay with giving it away to things like porn. Things that don't give us anything back. What does porn give you? It gives you nothing in return. It just drains you of your energy, resources, confidence, ability to connect with people. Being so willing to give your energy to that, you're saying that that's what you're worth. You're worth not having energy, not being confident, being drained in these ways. When you become more selective of who is deserving of that part of yourself, your confidence ends up growing over time. When you begin to place a high value on yourself, on your time, on your energy, you end up naturally attracting more high quality things to you. High quality people are attracted to people who have high value on themselves. I had talked to someone who had never seen any kind of porn. When they had an orgasm, there was no sexual imagery in their mind. They were picturing like planets and galaxies. Maybe that is the true point of what orgasm is supposed to connect us with, this like bigger universal type of wisdom. Masturbation has the potential to be a spiritual experience. If there's any hope of us getting there, it would be through going on a fasting period, completely eliminating porn altogether, because it takes time for your mind to lose deeply rooted associations with that feeling of being horny. There are times where it is the universal will for you to masturbate. However, those times are very rare. An orgasm is like the connection point to that realm of information. And when you're truly in alignment of when you're supposed to be doing that, then you can receive information from this higher consciousness that can allow you to make leaps in your own personal evolution. Why staying horny makes you more powerful? All horny energy is the urge to create. Typically in nature, it would be to make a baby, or it would be to bond with someone. And if you're not doing that when you masturbate,
then that horny energy could be channeled very easily into something else. And when that type of energy is backing any of your actions, it makes that action more powerful. So it's like if you have a product that you're working on and you work on it while you're horny, and you're putting that energy into your product, then your product is going to have more of an impact in the world. When you keep that energy with you, it makes you more attractive. It makes you more magnetic because it adds this kind of extra life inside of you. And when you have this extra life backing all of the things that you're doing, those things hold more power. They draw things to you. Your sexual energy is a magnet.
If you are living a life that is truly fulfilling you on all levels, that you feel super passionate about, that you feel engaged in, you feel excited every morning, then you're not going to want to watch porn. You're not going to miss porn. Like, what I'm realizing is that the only reason why I miss watching porn is because right now my life is not as fulfilling, engaging, or exciting as it could be. I think people struggle with this because when you take away porn, you're forced to face the life that you've created for yourself. And most of the time, that life is not so pretty or satisfying. If throughout your life, if you're constantly watching porn, if you're constantly smoking weed, if you're constantly drinking alcohol, that's saying that throughout your life, you've always had an escape. That inherently means that you're creating a life that you need an escape from. Why do I always talk about porn and masturbation and sex? So many people struggle in this area and have no one that they can talk to about it. Even for people who don't feel like porn and masturbation is an issue in their lives, a lot of times they're not even aware of how it's affecting them. Things like jealousy issues, trust issues, inability to have an orgasm during sex, low self-esteem, social anxiety, depression, lack of motivation. All of these feelings are just consequences of this one habit. You don't know the effect that something's having on you until you break away from it. I felt like I got my spirit back. It affects everything. Like, you look at marriages nowadays and how so many marriages end in divorce. Sexuality, intimacy plays a huge role in some of those statistics. This is something that almost everyone is doing, but the second you want to talk about it as much as people are doing it, it's seen as like this really, really big deal. The most self-loving form of masturbation would be to masturbate with no thoughts in your mind, with no imagery in front of you, to where you are literally making love to yourself, where you are 100% present with yourself, with your body, with your breathing, and you are truly using masturbation in a self-loving way. People claim self-love when they masturbate, but it's really not if you're making love to an image on a screen or to an image in your head and not to you. If you are truly going to masturbate out of self-love, then your own body needs to be enough for you to get off. Are you making love to yourself the way that you would to another person? If you're having sex with someone, hopefully you're not off in your head imagining porn or imagining other people. You are fully present and fully aware with your partner. And in that same way, if you're making love to yourself, you want to be fully present and fully aware with yourself. When I stopped masturbating, it was like my whole life became an orgasm. I know I'm not a guy, but if I was a guy, I would feel like I was penetrating my life. Like, I still feel that way. Even as a woman right now, I still feel like I'm penetrating my life. Like, I'm making love to my life. With masturbation, it drains you of your sexual energy, and your sexual energy is what is responsible for your motivation, your drive, your creativity. And if you're constantly expelling that energy out, you feel less alive in your life. And for me, when I stopped doing that, I felt like I was reborn again into this life or something, and I was seeing my life as a being that I was having sex with. You know what I mean? I make love to my life now. The goal is not to eliminate porn and masturbation from your life. That is the how. That is the means through which you can achieve other goals. So, for instance, if you are trying to build a house, your goal is to build a house. And in order to build a house, you might need a hammer as one of your tools. So NoFap, eliminating porn and masturbation, that is your hammer. That is how you're going to achieve bigger goals. But in order to succeed on this lifestyle, you have to create a goal that speaks to your spirit. So maybe your goal is to find meaningful relationships, is to have a fulfilling career, is to feel more for your life, to feel more alive, to feel more connected to people, to resolve issues within your sexuality. That is the goal. And NoFap, no more porn and masturbation, is how you can achieve that. So I want to know your opinion. Do orgasms destroy love or destroy relationships? I've been reading this book called Cupid's Poisoned Arrow by Marnia Robinson, and in this book she is talking about the concept of a lifestyle without any orgasm. And I don't want to believe this because I love the way orgasms feel, right? I'm sure we all do. But she talks about how an orgasm, it's a huge release of dopamine at one time in your mind, and it takes 2 weeks to reach levels of homeostasis back in the brain. So for the 2 weeks following an orgasm, you are living in a dopamine deficit. You're kind of living life a little bit underneath the surface. You don't have as much dopamine in your mind to release for the smaller moments, and people experience this hot, cold feeling in their relationship. Swipe to see the next video. So I hear from a lot of men who say that they can't feel aroused by their partner, and that's why they turn to porn, because they need it to feel sexually stimulated. But it's kind of like a catch-22, because when you're watching a bunch of porn, it ends up desensitizing you to the real-life beauty of your partner and other women in real life. It's kind of like the difference between someone who eats a bunch of junk food and candy. They're not as able to appreciate the taste of a fruit or a vegetable because their taste buds are accustomed to this artificialness. And in the same way, you have to refine your mental taste buds by removing porn from your life, because when you remove porn, it's like you're removing candy, and then over time you're able to really receive real life beauty, and you're more sensitive to real life beauty, the same way that your taste buds are more sensitive to a fruit. A lot of people who come to me struggle with social anxiety, and they watch porn, and they don't understand how those two things are related to each other. So here's the thing. When you watch porn, you see the most vulnerable sides of people with the click of a button. And in order for you to experience sex and intimacy in real life, you would have to learn how to introduce yourself to someone, how to connect with someone, how to make conversation, how to really understand social interaction. Now, porn bypasses that entire social process, and it leads to the sexual experience immediately. And over time, it robs you of the experiences where you get to go out and develop those social skills. So it stunts your growth socially and leaves you with social anxiety. Regular ejaculation is like self-induced malnourishment. Your semen contains over 200 different proteins, so many vitamins, minerals, the building blocks of life. Just think about this. Your semen has the potential to bring a new life into this world. It can create a human, a baby, and if you're constantly releasing that fluid, you are losing all of that vital nutrition that's needed to sustain life. And over time, that can make men be very zombie-like. It can make them be very kind of low energy because of all of the life force that they're losing. Through practices like semen retention and ejaculation, which is talked about by a guy named Mantak Chia, definitely look into him, you can actually recycle that semen back into you and promote things like cellular regeneration. And
life got a whole lot better because you start working from the inside out. It's up to you to not make decisions that can be negative to your life. But I communicate to her because she's like the only person I can talk to about this, because at work, the guy was like, dude, you're gonna explode. A man must do that or he's gonna explode. I haven't exploded yet. I feel as if I'm more positive. I feel as if I exude more confidence. I feel more attractive. look the same. It's how you feel about yourself.
That energy, when you retain it though, it does make you more attractive. Attraction actually is an energy.
It's something I never even thought about was doing this. The things you don't think about is the things that really can change your life. Once you close your mind, then you're not open to receiving these kind of benefits of life. It's an opportunity to open your mind up and to learn more things and actually better yourself. And look at people like people and not like objects. Women do it too, you know, it's not just men. I would advise anyone to look into it.
A man left me a comment saying that he feels disinterested in his partner after ejaculating during sex, almost like he wants nothing to do with her afterwards. On the flip side, when he doesn't ejaculate, the sex is better and the connection is stronger. I wanted to see how many men could relate to this feeling, so I created a poll, and to my surprise, 71% of the men who voted said that they could relate, that they feel disinterested after ejaculation. Now, the exact numbers were 75 men agreed and 31 men disagreed. Now, to me, this is a sign that something is going terribly wrong in our sexual experiences, because sex should be bonding, it should be connecting, you should feel love and intimacy afterwards, not disinterest. So men really need to look into semen retention, the act of having sex without ejaculating, because it is possible for a man to have an orgasm without ejaculation. And I want to know your thoughts. Turning lust into appreciation. There's this idea that we need to do something when we see beauty, instead of just allowing ourselves to admire that beauty, acknowledge it, and then let it go. I think it stems from a feeling of lack, like we don't have our own sense of beauty and power and greatness. We need to recognize our own beauty and our own power so that when a beautiful person comes into our life, we can react to that beauty from a state of security rather than a state of desperation. If you're in a desperate state and you see someone beautiful, you are going to try to masturbate to it, possess it in some way. You're going to try to like you need to do something about it to claim it as your own. When you see beautiful people, just let them be beautiful. You don't need to do anything about it. Express gratitude that you got to witness that beauty. Porn trains you to think that that's all you're good for, is sexually pleasing a man. It trains you to think that way. It trains you to think that your only value in this world is your body and your sexuality, which is so not true, but that's what porn conditions you to think. And when you're thinking from that mindset, you attract things of a similar vibration to you in your waking life, in your life outside of porn. So if you're constantly getting off to these images, and then you go out in the real world and you are only attracting men who want you for your body or who just want to have sex with you and then not commit to you, if you're attracting all of these experiences into your life, it might be because you have set up this subconscious attraction to that dynamic through getting off to porn. And it's a dark thing. Porn holds very dark energy. And whatever you orgasm to, you bond with. And so for a long time, I was bonding with dark energy, because that's what porn is. It's dark energy. And when you're bonded to dark energy, you manifest that into your life in the form of depression and anxiety and sadness. I used to masturbate on a daily basis. So for me to remove that daily dopamine release, I feel like I'm going through withdrawal from a drug or something that gets you really high, but then it leaves you feeling really low afterwards. It's just facing your life, just coming to terms with the reality that maybe you're not satisfied with your life, whereas before, porn and masturbation, you were using as an escape. At least I was using it as an escape, as a way to not focus on my problems. And it's the same thing with any other form of instant gratification. About how in current society, our clothing is designed to cover up while simultaneously bring attention to the most sexual parts of the body, like the breasts and the genitalia. Like when you think about bikinis, for instance, bikinis, they're really sexy and they cover up these areas while also bringing attention to these areas, and it makes us feel this like really sexual, horny feeling, when in reality, like, when you see primates, when you see animals masturbating, they're all naked all the time. I don't think it's the nudity that turns them on. I think it's a more visceral feeling, maybe like the way something feels against their body or their skin, that turns them on. Whereas we have turned everything into something that's so overly sexualized. I feel like if everyone were naked all the time, we would be way less sexual, because
Men and women are going to grow up watching so much porn before they ever have a real physical connection with someone.
Right.
And so you're conditioning yourself to have these certain expectations of what a physical interaction is going to be like, without trying to see what it's like without that influence first, because you don't know. I feel like people don't even know what their own sexuality is. Like, they're just going off of things they've seen and things that they want to recreate because it excited them when they watched it. But
I feel like, yeah, and that, like, touching on that, like, it's not like, some of it is, we don't, I was thinking about this, and this also has to do with just like movies and music videos in general, is that sometimes we don't understand that, like,
because if you're in a relationship and you're doing NoFap and you have sex with that partner, you start to associate your highest pleasure with the person that you're with, as opposed to doing it yourself while you're watching porn. You associate that sexual pleasure to the images that you see, versus when you're doing NoFap, you can only associate that sexual pleasure with the source of that pleasure, which is going to be the person who is doing that to you. And that's why it strengthens relationships. Like, it's crazy how I'm just now starting to actually understand this. I feel like I'm so behind in, like, I think this is a very basic understanding of sexual intimacy, but this is something I'm only just now of it. Like, the surface level of NoFap is, yeah, don't masturbate and it'll change your life. But if you think about it deeper, go deeper with it, it's not about not masturbating. It's about taking the long road to happiness instead of these instant gratification things. That's what NoFap is truly about. I mean, it's about a lot of things, but for me personally, it's been about not allowing myself to take the easy way out into feeling good, to not do things for instant gratification, to prioritize delayed gratification, because that's more sustainable. It's more sustainable to work through your emotions than escape them. And like I said, there's still plenty of things I do to escape my emotions all the time, and I'm working on it. But NoFap has been really eye-opening for me. When you are masturbating to porn, you are conditioning yourself to associate your pleasure with that energy. So I was conditioning myself to associate my pleasure with videos of men gratifying themselves through women's bodies. And so naturally, my subconscious would attract me to people in my real life who were of that energy. I was getting off to those types of dynamics, and so I was attracting those types of dynamics into my life. I was attracting men who only wanted me for my body, who only wanted me for lustful reasons. And then I would wonder why that is. Well, it's because I've been conditioning myself to associate my pleasure with that energy. And when you stop doing that, you become way more sensitive to the energy that people are giving off, and you can read people better. You can read men so much better. You can really tell when someone is about you or when someone just wants to be in you.